we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Good to see everybody. Let's see. I see Trish. I see Stefano, Lady Fiona, Bent Genetics, Stacy Michaels. We got Miss Hermit Hill, Kentucky. We got the 40-foot garbage man. Got a good-sized crew here. Makes me happy. Cindy, Lou, good to see you. Glad that you're here. People, I want to talk a little bit about CW Terry. Glad that you're here. I want to talk a little bit about last night and about the live feed that we did, and then I've got some news as well. Jesse, glad you're here. Last night's live feed was absolutely amazing. When that live feed was over, Mark and I sat there, just I don't know, man, shaking our heads up and down and just beside ourselves at the level of honesty and the level of courage that it took to deliver that kind of honesty. We've said so many times that what we do, and I mean what we do, the co-hosts here on the lifeboat, what we do is cathartic because you really open up and you kind of bleed out onto the microphone, and it's something that we use as therapy, and we use it as the anchor that keeps us sober. We really do. It's a huge part of our walk, this process. But very often, when we do interviews, it's not necessarily what we expect. The reason is that, first of all, right before we went live yesterday, we were sitting there and, Mark was doing what he does. He's getting it set up and making sure that, all the numbers look good so that it's going to be a feed that everybody can, see, and we're not going to have problems. He's always making little micro adjustments. And I was on my phone texting somebody, making sure that the people are going to be here. And Niall goes, boy, I'm guessing you guys have done this a lot. Because you look so laid back, no one would know you're about to go on a live stream, and it occurred to both of us, I think, about the same time that we do kind of take that for granted. And as you're getting ready to go live, if this isn't something that you do every day, it's nerve-wracking. I remember, and you lose sight of it if you've been doing it a while. You know what I mean? I kind of forgot that first video where for an hour before I went live, in spite of all the public speaking and everything I've done, my heart was parked in my throat. And I remember, really being nervous about it because I was going to be coming out and, people were expecting a pepper channel, and they were about to get something completely different than a pepper channel. And I remember, sort of being on edge about how it was going to be received. And the point I'm making is that when we bring somebody on, usually this is their first foray into doing this in any way. So very oftentimes what they're going to do is they're going to take a story and they're going to desensitize the crap out of it. They're going to tell you what happened in their life, but they most assuredly are not going to bleed. They're not going to open up in that way. And every once in a while, we interview somebody and some of that, sort of shines through. Last night was just different. And it was different in that after about the first 5 minutes, which is standard operating procedure in any kind of public speaking, the first 5 minutes, everybody kind of gets their butterflies under control and they sort of, talk to get themselves calm. And I think that that's what he did. And then from that point forward, he just opened up the honest vein and let it go. And the feedback that we've gotten has been absolutely incredible. And I appreciate the fact that all of you have stepped up to the plate to let him know just how much that meant to you. Because I know that, I'm not trying to be funny in this, the choice of terms I'm about to use, but I had a hangover when that interview was over. I mean, that literally left me, almost like I was physically and emotionally drained when that was over. And that doesn't happen to me on live feeds. You do an hour and then, you sort of, you get up and Mark and I talk for about 15 minutes, then we turn this thing off and we go do our thing. And it was 2:00 in the morning last night and I was still, sort of reeling from that interview. And the reason that, and I said this last night, but the reason that I think that was just so perfect and so important is because there is a romanticizing of alcohol that is part of our culture. It's just such a daily part of everything. It's in every movie. It's in every, you go to a party. If you go to get gas, the place you buy gas is going to be selling booze. And they're going to have big cardboard cutouts of whoever the athlete is or the star or whatever. There's so much advertising and there's so much, it's just in your face. And because alcohol lowers inhibitions, there's something that's always, almost funny about the buzz that people get from alcohol. You don't see people crack jokes about somebody on heroin, but people will constantly crack jokes about somebody who's been drinking. And it's whenever somebody decides to be really open and honest, so often those horror stories become, you do a 45-minute comedy sketch, where somebody tells you the funniest things that happened to them and how drunk they got and the amount of booze that they were drinking. And then the last 15 minutes is boy, I'm glad that was over. And you think to yourself, why would you be glad that's over? It sounded awesome, right? You sounded like you were having a ball. And there was just enough illustration in last night's interview to give you an idea of just how much the alcohol was affecting him. I mean, the story of him walking out into the ocean, I think was humorous, but at no point did you get that vibe that he misses that, that boy, he's bummed out that all of those fun times are over. The message that came through was completely different. And, I beat the drum really loud and I spend a lot of time on deep dive rants concerning opiates because of the number of people that it's killing and because it's near and dear to me because of the amount of time that I spent addicted to that stuff. And the same with my co-host. I mean, that's our substance of choice. So whenever, we start to look at that substance, that's something I get loud about and I beat the drum about, and I don't about alcohol. And I think that that's probably a disservice. And if there was ever a doubt that it's a disservice, I have news for the boat. And people, this is one of those situations where because of the family involved and because of the fact that I haven't spoken to them very specifically on this subject, we're not going to share this individual's name. We may share it at a later date after I talk to the family, but there was an individual that was a crew member on this boat, and he first found the boat when it was still the Tommy Scoville show, a long time ago. And he was very close friends with my brother. They worked together in San Antonio, Texas. They worked in the same office for many years. And this individual had a really, really severe drinking problem. And very much like the one that Niall described. You know, he was, this man was functional for 8 hours a day, but when he would leave the office, you know, he would drink to, you know, the point where he was completely wasted, and he would achieve that before getting out of the car after driving home. Literally, by the time he got home, he was drunk. And this has been going on for a really long time. And unbeknownst to us, he was also, he spent the last 2 years taking an awful lot of Percocet, not buying it on the street, getting this from prescribed from a doctor. He let his health really get out of control. He was north of 300 pounds, and he had numerous surgeries in the last couple of years. And the crazy thing is that he had reached out to my brother recently to talk about the fact that he was very concerned about death. You know, he literally said to my brother, I know I'm going to die young. I can feel it right now. I'm going to die. And as crazy as this is, that was the last conversation that my brother had with him. He was, at some point yesterday, he passed away at the age of 50. And we got the announcement of it today. I don't know exactly what the final cause of death is going to be. There's no telling what the autopsy will turn up. But regardless of what they write down on that piece of paper, this individual drank himself to death. And the sad thing is that he was a member of this crew. He has watched a ton of videos. He has left comments. For those of you who have been on the boat forever, when you do find out the name, you're going to go, oh, I remember this. This is an individual who all of his comments usually would harken back to the fact that he was very close with my brother, and that he was a big fan of the two Scoville boys, and this was a recurring thing. And looking back on it and spending some time going back and reading some of the comments, I think you can see when he was using. You know, there were days that he seemed to be trying to fight the good fight, and during those days, there were comments that were full of hope. You know, this was somebody that wanted to turn their life around, and the rest of the comments were just like what I was just talking about, just like the illustrations where, you know, it was almost alcohol was kind of funny, you know, and he would make comments about how he was, you know, drinking way too much. But, you know, Mark and I, right before we came on here, we were talking about this, and we have an unusual, I don't know whether you call it a job, but a mission. We have a very unusual mission because under the best of circumstances, we're going to save about 10 out of every 100 people, right? And that we're killing it. If we get to 10 out of 100, we're killing it. We're beating the nationwide average to death. And we'd like to think we're better than the nationwide average. We really would, primarily because of you people and how much you care and how much you connect with people. We really do believe that the opposite of addiction is connection. And I think that the lifeboat connects like very few places. So let's say we really hit it out of the park, and I don't know, let's say we get to 15%. That means that 85 out of 100 people that we try to save, we're going to lose. You know, if knowing that going into it, it seems like this is, you know, probably not the greatest mission, right? But people, I think this is a great time to kind of hit on this. This is a great time to bring this up, because we got to celebrate the 7 or the 8 out of 100. You know, the ripples from that. Niall said so many times yesterday that, you know, if one person was helped by what he did, holy Lord, the number of people he's already helped. So much more than one. And that's what it's all about. You know, some of the people who heard his voice and have decided already that they want to turn their life around, we're going to lose them. Not every one of those people are going to stick. The vast majority will come here. They'll be gung-ho. They'll be ready to roll. And then we'll watch them drop off. And that's just the nature of what we do. But you know what? If Mark and I did this for the next 10 years and one person got saved, right? If our average was 1 in 1,000 instead of 7 out of 100, we're going to continue to do what we do, because every single life we try to reach out to is precious. You know, the individual who passed away yesterday as a crew member of this boat, he was precious, not just to us, to a lot of people. You know, this is somebody with a family, and dying at 50 is just too young, you know. And then anytime something like this happens, you go through the, you know what, we were emailing back and forth, man. Maybe if I had, you know, done this, or maybe if I had pushed a little harder. You know what? You can't do that. You really can't. I've spent the last, you know, hour and a half. I found out earlier today, I had been talking to my brother Johnny, and he said, you know, so-and-so passed away. He didn't give me the name. And I was in the middle of working on a watch, and I wasn't paying much attention. And all he gave me was a first name. And, you know, and I called him later in the day. And when he said the last name, I went, he's on the boat. You know, he said, yeah, he reached out to you. And yeah, I spent about an hour and 45 minutes wondering, as the captain of this vessel, what I could have done differently. And the truth of the matter is, you know what? This is a cliche, and it's a good one. You can't say the right thing, right, to the wrong person. And you cannot say the wrong thing to the right person. When someone is ready to get sober and they really want it, the fact that you get them to the water, trust and believe they're going to drink. They're going to drink. The opposite of that is, you can be the slickest guy in the whole world, and you can have a great presentation, right? You can pour your heart out, and you can get that person all the way over to the water every time, right? You can bring them in like that. But it doesn't matter what you say when you get to the trough, right? That horse is either going to drink or it's not going to drink. And at that point, you know, you've done everything you can do. I hear people all the time. They send emails and they say, you know, I'm trying to reach out to so-and-so. People, that's all you're supposed to do, right? We're not signed up for this to drag people kicking and screaming, because it doesn't work. It really doesn't. You know, you can, you make your best effort, and then you know, even in the midst of losing this individual, you kind of got to sit back and say, you know what, we gave it our all. You know, I emailed this guy on the regular. Anytime he emailed me, I responded. And I'll tell you something, people, that scared the heck out of me. I'm not going to lie to you. When I found out who it was, you immediately go back and you look for that one email that you might not have answered. I get people all the time that say, you know, you're pretty good about getting back to people on emails. Yeah. You know, the other option is something like this happens, and you go back and read an email from someone that you didn't respond to. And, you know, it's not something that I want to wrestle with for the rest of the time that I do this. But while I grieve very much for this individual, the boat did what it was supposed to. For real. We tried. And we're going to lose a lot more, everybody. That's just the reality. I remember when number 5 died, and I said, this is the first, you know, time that I've had to come on here and talk about somebody that we lost. Since then, there's been numerous other ones. I wish that today was the last day that we were ever going to come on here and do this. It's not. It's not. There's going to be many more. And the key is, we're just going to keep doing what we do. And we're going to keep doing it with a smile on our face. And we're going to keep fighting the good fight. And I'm going to step up my game on this alcohol stuff. I'm going to try to spend more time talking about, you know, the addiction to alcohol use disorder, believe it or not. That's what they're calling it these days. As opposed to alcoholism, it's being called alcohol use disorder. And it's serious. And there are so many people on this boat who have, you know, been afflicted with it, and so many people on this boat who are beating it, who have overcome it and are working on the daily basis of staying sober, that I think as a captain here, that I probably need to spend a little bit more time talking about this. And I am going to yeah, I'm going to step up my game on that. On that, I can promise you, because I do think that it's someplace that where there's a potential that I haven't hit, and I think that yesterday was a pretty good indicator of that. Niles, the response we got from Niles' interview really kind of hammers home just how important it is that that alcohol gets a little bit more of a of a nod, so to speak. You know what I mean? We're definitely gonna work on that one a lot more in the future. Hold 1 second. I have been linded. Shannon M. Watson says, "Thank you. I am trying to do something, and I believe everything happens for a reason. So I'm here. I want to live again, not just exist." I want to tell you something. That is a beautiful comment. I do not know your name, and that's a good sign. Honestly, whenever somebody new comes to the boat and comes in with that attitude, that's the best possible case scenario. Introduce yourself to the people in the comment section. Feel free to look in the Dropbox. There's going to be an email from myself or my partner. Reach out to either of us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, but definitely talk to the people in the comment section, because the crew of this boat performs miracles on a regular basis. These are people that definitely have a handle on what it means to to live with and fight through addiction. And the group nature of what we do at the Lifeboat is the reason that we have had a pretty decent level of success up to this point. Makes me happy, truthfully. Now, about last night, there's a takeaway that I really want everyone here to get. I told you my takeaway. What Mark and I talked about. I told you from the guys sitting in these chairs, kind of what we took away from that. One of the things was that we definitely want to focus a little bit more on alcohol. Like, that's something that is important to us, and the issues that arise from it. The takeaway I want you people to take away from this: everybody has talked about the courage that it required for him to come and do what he did. People, I'm not expecting that kind of courage out of anybody. I didn't expect that out of him, honestly. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't expect that out of anybody. That kind of honesty is rare, when you're live. I'm not saying that all of you aren't that honest, but when you put a camera on, it tends to make people question how much they want to open up. And it's courageous as hell when they do it the way he did. However, that being said, I would like to see more interviews on the Lifeboat from the people who are here on a daily basis. The takeaway I would like the boat to get from that is, if he can do that here, right, at this level, then there's no reason that I can't do it at here. You follow me? I'm not asking anybody to come on here and hit it out of the park. I'm not asking anybody to come on here and open up in that way. But I think that there is something so cathartic to coming on and telling your story. And as importantly, the feeling that you will get when you realize that it's helping people, the feeling that you will get when you look in the comment section and see people say, you know what, that really touched me. People, that's the best possible case scenario. You want your life to mean something. And I don't mean from this point forward. I'm talking about the part of your life that didn't mean much. Because for me, people, my story. I've told you all of it, right? And when you screwed up the way I did and at the level I did, and then you took, in the best case scenario, if you live to 100 years, right, which is a great long life, I spent about 10% of that time incarcerated, right? 11% of that time incarcerated. That's difficult, and it's something that's hard to wrap your brain around. However, I can make all of that worth something by doing what I do here. I think that yesterday, Niall took the worst parts of his life and made something beautiful come out of them. I really do believe that. I think that the number of people who will be reached by what he did and by the level of honesty that he showed is going to be dramatic. I would encourage everybody on the boat to step up to the plate. If you haven't done an interview with us, reach out to me. Drop a letter. Email in the, you check the Dropbox, CaptainTommyScoville@gmail.com. You can email either myself or Mark, any way you want to get a hold of us. But I'm telling you, people, if you have not done an interview here on the boat, give the crew an opportunity to meet you in a way that they haven't. You can't tell me, people, that your perspective on Niall didn't change last night, right? You thought you had a handle on who Niall was. You've read his comments. You've seen him in the comments section, right? You may have interacted with him on some of the live chats that we have set up on some of the other platforms, and you thought, I know this guy. You walked away from last night going, I had no idea who that guy was. Well, that's a beautiful thing. I'm proud of you and what you were doing, Tommy. Don't stop, brother. Hey, and Johnny, I'm sorry for your pain. I didn't mention any names, but I did share the loss and what happened. And it's anytime you have an opportunity to make something awful, turn into something good. People, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, and every one of your days is ruled by the bottle, this is the time to step up to the plate, because I know that so oftentimes when you're in the life and you're living that existence, you think, you know what, down the road I'll get to a point where I'm going to stop this. Right now I'm not ready today, but there's going to be a point where I'm ready to stop. Well, our friend said that. Believe me, our friend said that. And then he proceeded to drink himself to death. The clock is ticking, people. It's ticking on your health. It's ticking on your life. The one commodity that we can. Oh, excellent, John. Thank you. Yeah. It's the one commodity we're not getting any more of, people. There is nothing you can do to manufacture time. You can't steal it. You can't borrow it. You can't buy it. The clock is ticking. And when they close the box at the very end, what's going to be the legacy that you left behind? If you've spent this much time of your life drinking or this much time of your life drugging, people, if I didn't have a really serious life-changing moment, and a guy named Q who really went out of his way to ensure that I became something other than what I was, when they closed the box, my legacy would have been the fact that I broke a lot of laws and I did a lot of drugs, and that would have been it. And I broke the hearts of everybody that ever cared about me. That was it. That's a tough thing to wrap your brain around. But that, at 46 years, was what I would have left this planet with. These days, the people that know me probably associate who I am with this more than anything else. If you ask somebody who Tommy Scoville was, this is what they're going to talk about. I'm cool with that. This is a legacy that I will feel really good leaving behind when I go. The fact is that there are individuals on this boat who have gotten sober because of the group of people that we've assembled here, because of the things that, the very beginning, we got really lucky. And the right group of people showed up, and that group of people have attracted so many more people. And you people have a way of making it stick. When I talked in the very beginning, I know that there was there's a somber moment or a somber note when you say, under the best of circumstances, we're looking at 7 to 10%. I kind of like to look at it a different way. I really do. I like to look at it like this. Without us doing what we're doing, 100 out of 100 are lost, right? Without us doing what we're doing, nobody gets saved. So we can concentrate on the fact that we don't win all of them, or we could concentrate on the fact that without us, we don't win any of them, right? Those are all people that get lost to a really, really crappy existence, living your worst life. And you people, the crew of the lifeboat, have already done amazing things to turn people's lives around. And honestly, people, that's the that's the dream. All right, it's what Mark and I do. It's the reason we do what we do. It's the reason that on days we don't want to do it, we continue to do it, because this is important stuff. And you people, this is a very cohesive unit. And the reason that it works the way it does is because of how everybody in this sort of fits together. Everybody here brings something to the party that is in the process of changing lives. And I think that that's absolutely huge. So to reiterate, and I will reiterate, If you have not done an interview with us on the lifeboat, ask yourself why. For real. I'm not pressuring any of you. But if you haven't done an interview with us, ask yourself why. Ask yourself if you're ready to tell the world your story, because I promise you, you will help people, and the person you will help the most will be you. There is something amazing about putting it out there. If there wasn't, I assure you, we wouldn't be doing this day in, day out, day in, day out. You know how many times I've admitted to the stupid things I've done in my life, week in, week out, and I will continue to do it till the end of time, because for me, it's the cement that holds this sobriety together. And I have yet to interview anyone, and I know Mark would say the same thing. I have yet to do any interviews here on the boat with one person who, when they were done, said, I wish I hadn't done that. I really wish I hadn't done that. I thought it was going to be a good idea, but I'm miserable. That was stupid. I'd like to take that back. Every single person who's ever done an interview here has said, I can't begin to tell you how much better I feel after doing that. So think about it. Reach out to us. We will try to fit it into a schedule and get you on here, because not only is it good for you, it's good for the boat. And I think I saw, let me check here real quick. I got to back up because I saw a name I haven't seen in a long time, unless I'm crazy here. Yeah, Harper's mama. It's been a minute. And she said, hi, I've been out for a while. Life's just been a little hard lately, but definitely felt the need to check back in with this supportive community. Hope you all are doing well. You know what? We are. And we're happy that you're checking back in with us. It's always great when we see a name we haven't seen in a minute. Yes, the boat is still chugging along. And we're happy that you stopped back. People, you probably noticed at the beginning of this that there was a really cool video of me warning you about all of the things that you shouldn't do on the lifeboat. And that can only mean one thing. That means that on the other side of the glass is my bobbleheaded partner. I am not going old school. We are going professional. Mark, how you feeling this evening?
I'm doing okay tonight.
Good.
I think, I really do appreciate attacking this subject a lot more. And as you were talking there, I didn't know the stats on anything, so I was kind of looking up some stuff, and it says there's like 14.5 million people AUDs. That's just the United States.
Lord.
And then there was a stat, there was 414,000 adolescents. We're talking 12 to 17-year-olds. And I think that, when we talk about this is something that's going to, all of us can understand this. There might be some people out there who's never seen somebody do a drug or something like that. Matter of fact, there's probably quite a few of those people. But every one of us has seen somebody get sloshed somewhere. And it really does put it in perspective to where you can address a subject like this that everybody can at least at some level relate. And most of us know a few alcoholics. Most of us can see it. Most of us, and some of us have family, like myself and my uncle. I've talked about that a lot. Again, we tried with him. I don't know how many times. He got sober. I don't know how many times. Even they even put him in the state hospital for like 6 months. But he was fine, but still, that's still, even our best efforts. I ain't going to say it wasn't good enough, because it was. He just couldn't get past it yet. And that was something that he dealt with, and there was nothing that we could have done. And I know it sucks to say those kinds of things, but it is fact. And, Tommy was talking about, hey, we might save, on a good day, 10 or 15 people out of 100. Well, the reason why me and him are doing what we're doing is to change that statistic. It's not just to sit back and just let those stats stay the same. That's why we're doing what we're doing. The more people you save, the more people that, even if they're only, and I know this is kind of crazy to say, if they're saved for 3 months. We all know that there's a honeymoon phase that we talk about. So even given that, they've probably touched and reached out to other alcoholics that they knew. So there's a residual effect there that we don't actually, it's in our conscious mind. It's not there, but it's happening. Those are things happening that we can't see, and those are things happening that we can't put a number on. But you guys are making a difference just from talking to each other. That is enough. Like Tommy said earlier, just to be there. Be there, and Tommy's going through bad stuff right now. I'm going through bad stuff right now. Yeah, we've taken some time here and there, and I have too, probably more so me than what Tommy has. That's definite. But let me tell you something. We're still here. And I told Tommy before, I wanted to be here every day. It's my therapy. I don't want to miss. And when I do miss, I notice. I was trying to deal with this whole thing with the death of my friend, and let me tell you something, not being here made it worse on me. We still haven't had any services for him yet or anything like that. So my mind's still, doing this, but I'm here, and this does help me. Last night helped me. I can't tell you how much. Just the fact that I was able to be around you guys and hear other people talk about issues and some things, like Niall was just sharing it out there, man. I mean, it was awesome. When me and Tommy come out here, we don't know how somebody's going to react or how they're going to, I don't want to say perform, but how honest they're going to be. And, honesty is the best part of recovery. It has to be there. That is the foundation. If there's no honesty there, it simply just won't work. I ain't saying you got to spill your guts every day or anything like that. I'm just saying when it comes down to the big subjects, be honest. And, and with alcohol, it is such a rampant thing. And it's so, like we talked yesterday, you can go down to the 7-Eleven and buy it. If you got $5 in your pocket, or you can go sit in front of the door and beg for the money. People give it to you. You can go in there and get you whatever, It's just that easy. The chase really isn't there with that drug, and that is that's a big deal in my opinion. And like I said last night, I think that because me and Tommy weren't alcoholics, we still talked about this, and everything that we've ever said applies. But there is another thing that we need to address, and that's what we're doing. And I really think that it's going to help a lot of people. I really do. And there's some big stats on this, guys. Huge numbers. I mean, they're huge. I'm not even, like I said, I'm not going into them tonight, but they're huge. Like, surprisingly, even to me, huge. How many people this affects. And this is, in my opinion, it's probably, if not, the most dangerous one out there. I haven't looked at any stats how many people pass away from this versus like an overdose from a drug. I don't know the stats on that yet, but I would assume that it's right close to it or even bigger.
The crazy thing about that is that it's so hard to get a handle on, because you throw in, there are so many different kinds of deaths that are associated with it. I saw a comment in here a second ago talking about Bex talked about the 100,000 overdoses annually from drugs, which is, we've talked about that, Bex, so much here. 125 empty houses a day, right? About 300 people on average, because those numbers are actually even a little low. But when you bring alcohol in, you've got DWI car wrecks. You've got people that literally drink themselves to death, where the alcohol, level gets above 5, ends up taking them out. You've got the situations where people get cancer of the liver, psoriasis of the liver. You've got people who die of the DTs, people who die from. So a lot of those, because of the deaths are not in your face as obvious, so many of them don't show up statistically. But yeah, you're right. In the ballpark of another 100,000 a year, it's terrifying. It really is. It's terrifying, and it's ubiquitous. It was like Ben Genetic said, I went shopping. And in the comment, he said, I went shopping today, and every single person I saw was buying alcohol. And when you at one point had alcohol use disorder and you go into any place, it's the first thing you're going to notice. It really is. I there's a place I go and look at watches, which is down on 4th Street. And if you know the town I live in, when I drive down 4th Street, I can watch every dope deal going on. I can watch every single a guy standing on the corner waiting. I know exactly what's going on. It's the same kind of thing with alcohol. But you're right, Mark. It's terrifying.
I think that there is a, especially with alcohol, and again, I don't know the stats on this part what I'm getting ready to say, but I would kind of think, or even make an assumption that it's probably the biggest codependency drug out there. Because oftentimes, even my brain, when I got sober or when I got into recovery, what did I try to do? If anybody remembers my story, I came back home from rehab and got kicked out of there because of my insurance and what have you. What'd I do? I stopped and bought 2 fists of liquor because I was going to sleep through it. I immediately went to alcohol because it was so accessible and I knew how it made me feel or whatever. It's a downer like we talked about yesterday. And, I really think that that's a very high codependent drug. I would have to think. And, again, I'm not looking at any stats or anything like that. But yeah. Yeah, Niall there says it's a fantastic idea to hold many interviews as you can. Yep.
I just saw that. I saw that at the exact same time you did. And I didn't know you were here this evening, Niall. It's great to see you, bud. You really did a tremendous job last night. That was absolutely amazing. I saw there were a couple of other great comments here. Bex talked about how, when you do throw in all of the other things that are associated with alcohol, those death numbers really go through the roof. And then Lady Crispin said, you start looking at also things like domestic violence, child abuse, all of those things that because of the fact that it's just everywhere and because of the fact that it is so, damn accepted by the entire society. There really are so many different things that spin off from that. We don't normally associate drugs as a cause of domestic violence in the same way we do alcohol. Of course, there are people that get wasted and end up, but the thing with alcohol is, the first part of your brain that it puts to sleep is the part of your brain that, it goes inhibition. That's the first thing that gets put to sleep. That's why you see people at parties that have had a couple of drinks, like, I'm going to go talk to that girl. It's just like Niall said yesterday. You know what I mean? It was instant courage because the first part of your brain. And the sad thing is, as it keeps going, now reason, like all of the other, it literally drugs all of the parts of your brain that make good decisions. There's a comedian, and it's almost worth playing, except every other word out of his mouth is a curse. But he talks about the difference between, the kind of friend that alcohol was. He said, alcohol is not a friend. He said, you hang out with alcohol, and the first thing it does is try to talk you into doing stupid things. And that really is what it is. He compared it to what he does is he compares one to a different drug. But, he said, a guy pulls over in an automobile and, you just cut him off. He said, and booze says to you, man, you going to take that? Get out of the car and slap that guy. He said, his other drug was weed. Hey, no, just sit back down in the car and relax. All of the decision-making processes that you make tend to get drugged first. That it starts to depress those levels of the brain. I remember when I was first starting to put all of these concepts together. I think I've told this story before, but I went in and talked to kids at a school, and we were talking to them about different drugs. And one of the questions that I was asked was, did I think alcohol was worse than marijuana? And, I wasn't the DARE program. I didn't, my plan was not to go in there and say, hey, I'm more bad. I was just going to give them education and hope they make good decisions. But I've never seen somebody smoke too much weed and smack their girlfriend or their kid. But I have seen so many men that I know who drank too much and punched their girlfriend in the face and the next day had no memory of doing it. That's terrifying. Honestly, that's terrifying. And, before anybody jumps on me and sends me emails, of course, not everybody that drinks does this. Okay. But people who drink to excess, if you drink to the point where you don't remember what you did the next day, that was never my drug of choice. I've told people this. It was never my drug of choice. But I remember taking so many benzos once that I was in a complete blackout. I don't remember anything that happened. And I was with my former brother-in-law, and we were driving around in a little Honda CRX, and we pulled over to get gas, and there were 2 purses in the car. And I said to him, "You have any idea where these came from?" He said, "No. This is a 2-person car. CRX is like, it would be very hard to get 2 more people in the car." But I said to him, maybe we ought to, try to call, figure out whose it is with the ID in there. Maybe, call the police and tell them we found these wallets. And he said to me, with the straightest face you've ever seen, "How do you know you didn't kill him?" Well, I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? That's not how I'm wired. But the truth of the matter is I had zero knowledge of how those got there. I had no idea what happened the night before. People, if you're living that existence, it's really time to pump the brakes. It really is. The kind of things you could say, "I'm not a violent person. I'm not going to do that." Put your keys in the car, right? You get to black out and you stick those keys in the car, or any of the other things. A guy from my high school, drunk in a blackout, working on a van with a skill saw, cut himself in the thigh and bled to death. And I graduated in a high school with 106 people in my graduating class, very small high school. Within the first 3 or 4 years of leaving school, 10% of them were dead. That's terrifying. And almost every single one of them was an alcohol-related death. It unfortunately is such a part of our society that you just don't run up against the same pushback that you do with drugs. Even as parents, you usually get you know what, he drinks on the weekends. Thank God he's not doing drugs. You're doing drugs. You call it whatever you want. It's a drug. Alcohol is a drug. Make no mistake about it. And it is a poison, right? It has to go through the liver to get out of the body. It's, every single time you get a hangover, you're suffering from acute alcohol withdrawal. Trust and believe it's a drug. We've come into this, this life through a society that just doesn't look at this stuff the same. If it was a drug, they wouldn't do cool commercials on it on the week. No, it's a drug. It absolutely is a drug. It's a drug that comes in a bottle. That's it. Different delivery method, the exact same thing.
It's an inexpensive one.
And it's everywhere and it's cheap. You got it.
Yeah. And I do think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why so many people, number one, get into it at all. Number two, have a hard time, because everywhere you look, it's not like, with me and Tommy, we can choose not to look at pain pills or, a bag of heroin or something. We don't have to look at that. But like we talked about before, you go into a grocery store, you go into a 7-Eleven, it's all around you. And I do think that's I have never experienced that. I can't speak from experience, but I would imagine that has to be one of the toughest parts of trying to kick it. I really wouldn't even begin to know how to even advise somebody on how to, get past that. Because we talk about, taking a different route home with our drug addiction. Well, you can't do that with alcohol because it's there. It's all over the place. You know what I mean? I just think it adds another layer to it that is really, really, I don't know. And it's amazing that that's the one thing that society accepts. It's
got a great comment from Niall. Niall said, when you get a number of people who say, I did this and I regret it and I destroyed my life and the lives of others, but you are with me anyway, that is sobriety. Niall, I love it.
Yeah,
I really do, man. And thank you again, Niall. You'll get sick of hearing it, but it was pretty powerful stuff last night. And the funny thing, people, when we get this all the time, whenever you do an interview, right before we get rolling, inevitably someone will say, "I just hope I do a good job. I don't disappoint you guys." Right? Pretty much everybody says it, or some version of that. Everybody may say it a little differently, but it's an attitude that everybody sort of wants to to bring to the interview. Just know, Niall, that you did not disappoint.
100%, man. I mean, he did. He kicked it out. I mean, hit it out of the park.
You did set the bar a little high, but that's not necessarily such a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is. It's great. We had two really good back-to-back interviews. Yeah. I mean, it really, it's yeah, I'm not going to go into the details of, that kind of a thing, but yeah, it's when we do things like this, and we know that it's touching people because, when it started hitting Tommy's phone right away, I mean, just nonstop. I'm sitting there talking to him, and it just kept dinging, ding,
I
ding,
was holding the
ding,
phone up
ding.
every 2 seconds. Somebody was saying something.
I mean, it was crazy, to be honest with you. It's just a really great response, and it's encouraging. Especially to people like me and Tommy that, sometimes we sit here and we wonder, are we really doing a good job, or are we, are we doing what we need to be doing? Is it, we're always going to look for ways to improve, but when those kinds of things happen, it validates. It validates at a level that we could never do on our own. And again, it wasn't us. It's just we were here to facilitate and give a platform to Niall, and there it was. And that's why I think it's one of the biggest reasons why we don't like script or send ahead questions like a lot of people do. Yeah. Those kinds of things. It's all natural. It's all raw. There's nothing there. It's all just what it is. And I think that's the best advice you can give people is when you're just speaking from your heart and your experience. And let me tell you something. Niall just threw his heart right out there. And everybody could see it. And that's why it was so powerful.
Yep. He definitely left nothing back.
And Rip the one before. He gave us what he gave us like an explanation of before and after in a way that I had never heard anybody speak like that. I mean, and my story's really, so close to his. I had just never thought about it in those terms, but they're very clear before and after. Crazy stuff.
So Fiona says everyone is saying how different drinks make them do different things. You know what? This is something that comes up all the time, and it's kind of this is a unique opportunity because it is one of the things, again, because this is a substance that is everywhere and it's accepted. Again, if I were to say, if I bring up opiates, you're never going to be in a room full of people who go, oh yeah, you know what? When I smoke heroin, I'm good. I can go out and do whatever I want. But when I slam it, I'm done. I shoot it and I'm unconscious in 2 minutes. No one's ever going to hear that. But if you bring up alcohol, every single person in the room will say to you, I'm fine on beer. If I drink wine, I get a little rowdy. But if I drink tequila, I'm liable to end up in jail or some version of that. I'm the happiest drunk in the entire world when I'm on beer. But if I drink any brown liquor, I'm going to get in a fist fight. The point I'm making is everybody will say something like that. For the 3 people in the room who have a drinking problem, that's got to be frustrating as hell. Honestly, there's got to be something tough to know that the whole world accepts this and can say, oh, you know what? I don't have a problem with that. I continue to drink. I'm sorry you can't handle that. Right? No one is ever going to say to me, sorry you can't handle heroin. I smoke it every day. You know what I mean? In fact, we're having some at the party tonight. I'm sorry you can't handle that. It is a completely different thing for people who have alcohol use disorder or alcoholism versus those of us who are, when you abuse an illicit substance, you don't have to ever worry about that illicit substance getting shoved in your face on every commercial, every movie. It's a pretty, you can name on one hand the films you saw in the last 10 years that depict heroin use, right? You can't name a movie that doesn't have somebody who has a beer in their hand or a cocktail and just, if you read the comment section today, there's a whole lot of this of people that, just starts to, people who start talking just almost socially about it. And I'm not bad mouthing you people. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's so interesting, the difference between how society views alcohol. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
It's one of those substances too, guys, that that we try to not make it taste what it tastes like, so we can drink it. I mean, that on the surface, you're like, is that really right? If it tastes that bad, do you got to really put so much on it? And I get all those other things too. I understand. Obviously you're not going to, squirt heroin in your mouth. I get that. But at the same time, you know, at least you look at a substance like that, you got to make it taste like it doesn't mean it's not supposed to taste to even take it. It's just on its face. It's just kind of, it's kind of there. Like,
and then June said, "And every country song as well," which she's right.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yep.
June, like the month, said every country song. June, I don't think I've ever welcomed you to the lifeboat. Good to have you here. I also saw a Jenny G design by Jenny G. Do not believe I've ever welcomed you to the boat either. We're happy to have you here. Glad you guys stopped in. Yeah. We are at the top of the hour, people. Listen, if you have not done an interview with the lifeboat, ask yourself why. And if you feel like you got something that you'd like to get out and you'd like the people on the lifeboat to know you a little better, and I'll tell you something, people, there is a bonus and a benefit to that words cannot explain. I know I used the example earlier, but you thought you knew who Niall was, right? You still think he's the same cat you thought he was 3 days ago? Well, then what a benefit. What a benefit. You know, and I mean, the good and the bad, you know it's coming. Because I'll tell you what, after yesterday's interview, if Niall isn't here for 3 videos, half of this boat's going to be chasing him down to find out where. And the other thing too, Niall, was your accent, very popular. The number of people that just felt the need to tell me that they loved listening to the sound of your voice was absolutely incredible. Did I not predict that too, Mark?
Yes,
I said
you
that
did.
ahead of time.
Yes, you did.
I said if all else fails, they're still going to love the way you sound. But people, reach out to us. Please do. For those of you who came here today and said that you're really going through it, reach out to me. Right? We'll try to get you plugged into this system that we've got here. See if we can't help you out. Tomorrow night, we're going to be back at the same bat time and the same bat channel and doing what we do. People, we're not going to win them all. But you know what? We're going to try to. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
Have a good evening, people. God bless.